Good morning, everyone. Make sure you have your cameras on, please. All right, YouTubers, if you're there and you have questions, let me know in the chat. All right, if anybody's on YouTube, let me know if YouTube is working, if you guys are receiving the stream. Can anybody check YouTube for me, please? Or if anybody's there on YouTube, please send me a chat on YouTube. Thank you. Anyone? Can anybody check for me, please? I want to make sure that it's working before I move forward. We have two chapters. This one's very short, and then the other one, I need you guys to pay attention. One, thank you. I appreciate you. And Paige, okay, Paige will send me a message as well. Okay. All right, cool. So we're working. We got a few people on YouTube, so great. And we can move forward. So good morning, everyone. We're going to go over licensing and regulation. Just a quick overview, because then we get into chapter 25 and on. We get to state specific. So this is very quickly, just pretty much we're going to say that state is the one that regulates the licenses, right? And what steps you need to obtain a real estate license, right? And what the power does the state have over you, all right? So again, very quick chapter. It says right here that state licensing law. Virtually every real estate practitioner in the United States is subject to license requirements according to the laws of the state in which the practitioner resides. and does business. States have enacted real estate laws to ensure a minimal level of competence in real estate professionals. State license also protects the public, so this is key for you guys to understand. We're going to repeat it a couple of times. State license also protects the public. That's actually the main reason by requiring licensees to adhere to standards of ethical conduct and professionalism. So the reason why the license is regulated is to make sure that we are handling the public properly, that we are more worried about the consumer than we are worried about ourselves, because that's what a profession is: customer and clients first. All right, guys, make sure if you're on camera and if you're taking the class, you're paying attention. Right from the get-go, I have to say it. Make sure you're here with me. All right, that's all. Now, a licensee who violates ethical and professional practices faces temporary or permanent loss or legal rights to practice real estate. So you could lose your license if you don't pay attention to this class. Okay? Now, in general, the general thrust of state real estate legislation is to establish personal, educational, and professional requirements for obtaining a license, to establish statutory guidelines of professional conduct and continuing education to maintain a license, to establish a regulatory body to create regulations and procedures that will enable it to discharge its legal responsibilities. For all students of real estate who are planning to enter the field of practice, it is vitally important to understand state real estate license laws and their effect on one's envisioned career in real estate. So from state to state, that's pretty much what we're saying here. From state to state, you need to understand each state's laws, because not every state does the same. So if you want to pursue this career, know what are the requirements for your state. Now, since real estate is a large and complex industry, students must investigate local licensing requirements for specific activities. For example, it is likely that a state has a special license requirement for appraisers, like state of New Jersey. You have to have a license in New Jersey. Other than that, a state may require no license. On the other hand, the state may require no license at all for one who works in corporate real estate. All 50 states have licensing requirements for practicing brokers and agents. Now, where the state license laws and regulations conflict with federal laws, the state laws will prevail. Let's go over the procedures of obtaining a license. All right, I'm getting here that there's a huge delay on YouTube. Guys, give me just one quick second. All right, we're back. All right, make sure you have your cameras on, please. Make sure you have your cameras. All right, so obtaining a real estate license. We talked about this briefly in the first chapter, services that require licensure, right? And pretty much, and we're going to repeat this when we go to the state portion, pretty much any person that performs a real estate service on behalf of another party for consideration, any service on behalf of another party for consideration, right, must be duly licensed under state law. So if you accept some type of compensation, and that compensation being money, for instance, could be a car, right? It could be exchange of services. right? Consideration is this for that. So we're performing a service in exchange for either money, a car, exchange for services. There's value in these things. So because there's value in it, then you expect it to get paid, right? So if you expect to get paid by helping somebody else on behalf of another party, by helping somebody else, a third party, right? Then you must have a license. Pretty much that's the general rule. However, if you're an investor, you're buying and selling your own property, do you need a license? No, because you're not acting on behalf of another party. Again, consideration includes money compensation in exchange for free services or any other valuable good or service that a person expects to be paid. Right? The following services generally fall into a license category: brokering of sale, lease or exchange transactions, managing property, including rental activities, appraising, counseling, syndicating, and auctioning. So these generally require a license. From state to state, it varies. Okay? Here are some exemptions. Let's go straight to exemptions. You are exempt from license requirements if you're an employee, right? If you're an employee of a property owner who is not paid on a per transaction basis, such as on-site rental agent in the apartment complex. If you're a salaried employee of the owner of the building, you don't need a license. Okay? You're a property manager, but you don't need a license. Right? But if you're doing for somebody else the property management, then you might need a license. Employees from transient lodging, like hotels and motels, right? You don't need a license to rent rooms. Okay? Managers of residential condos and co-ops, dealers in cemetery lots, attorneys performing regular legal duties for a principal, and persons acting in a court-appointed capacity. So if court said so, then you don't need a license. Okay? Hey Valerie, good morning. How are you? All right. There's different types of licenses. You guys should already know this. We have a broker's license. We have a salesperson license. Under the broker's license, you could be an individual, active or inactive, right? You could be a corporation, which requires to have at least one licensed broker. It could be an LLC, it could be a partnership, or it could be a non-resident broker if you don't live in the state, right? A salesperson license could be an individual salesperson license, or look what falls under salesperson. A broker salesperson. Now, why is a broker salesperson under the salesperson category of licenses? Very simple. Because both of these are under the broker of record. So this is the umbrella. We have a broker of record, and then under the broker of record, there's either the individual salesperson or there's the broker salesperson. Okay, so broker salespeople are not autonomous, meaning they cannot do whatever they want just because they're broker slash salesperson. They are effectively salespeople who happen to have passed the broker's exam already, but they're still operating as salespeople. That's why they're in this category. All right, Valerie says, walking and listening. There you go. Whatever works. As long as you're listening and paying attention, we're good. Okay. Now, broker's license. Every time you see the word broker without any attachment to it, right? So we're talking about broker, salesperson will be an attachment to it, right? If it's broker by itself, again, we're talking about the broker of record. So every time you see broker by itself with no attachments, talking about the broker of records. So who engages in a seller or a listing contract? Well, we're the ones, the salespeople are the ones that knock on doors on behalf of the broker. So technically, who engages in the listing agreement? It's the broker and the client. Got it? It's not us, it's the broker and the client. But which broker? Is it the broker salesperson? No. The broker of records is the one that creates the listing agreement between the broker and the client. We set it up, we write it, we submit it, but again, it's between the broker and the client. Which broker? Broker of record. Got to remember that. Rose, good morning. By the way, Rose, I did not forget about you. I will send you that after class, okay? All right, next. It says a broker who does business at locations other than the principal office requires a branch office license. So if you're not at the main office, you got to have a branch license. While the branch office must be licensed, state laws vary as to whether the branch manager requires a broker's license. So again, when we get to, well, hold on. So Rose, I thought you were participating in class, but no. Rose, who has been watching on YouTube, said, just wanted to stop by and say I passed. So Rose, congratulations. Congratulations. And everybody's applauding for you. That's so awesome. So now make sure you don't fall asleep and go for the next step right away, but get your fingerprints, start interviewing brokers if you haven't yet, and activate that license ASAP. All right? Don't sleep on it, because I've had somebody like a year later, they go to activate their license and it expired. So get it done now. Okay? And start making some money. There you go. And you're always welcome to visit. Stop by. We are at 18 Oliver Street, right? So in Newark, pass by. All right, guys, so where were we? A broker's license authorizes a broker to perform services anywhere within the state's borders. So let me point this out again. You can perform services only within the state's borders. Oh, Rose, I wish they would. Rose said, thank you, and I hope everyone pay attention. That's what Rose said. Pay attention. And she says she would not make it without the info. Glad it worked. Right? The pay attention was key, by the way. I paid Rose to say that. I'm just saying. All right. So check it out right here. Broker's license authorizes you to perform services within state borders. So if you are, let's say there's a question, where you are right at the border with PA, you live right next to PA, you're a New Jersey resident, can you have a listing in PA? Can you help a buyer in PA? The answer is absolutely not. You can coordinate with another broker in that state and do a referral, okay? So you can coordinate with another broker. That's called co-brokerage, right? But if you're at the border and you think you're going to list stuff there, maybe it makes sense for you to get your license in that state as well. I don't agree with having licenses in multiple states. I do not agree with that, because if you're not traveling there, if you're not active there, then you're just wasting money. For instance, we're right next, at least I'm right next to New York, roughly 20 minutes away, if that much, right? But that's pretty much around 2 o'clock in the morning. So during the day, I can get from 20 minutes, it could be 1 hour to get into New York, right? And then within New York, if I want to go show an apartment, right, or any type of property, it could take me 2 hours to get there. So it's half a day right there. Just traveling is half a day. So to me, it does not make sense. So what we could do, again, is co-broker by referring, for instance, to somebody in that state. We can refer to somebody in another state. If you have a buyer or if you have a seller for another state, you can refer and still get paid. So, where can you operate? Okay. Oh, Shanice says it could take another hour to find parking. Yes. Yeah, in New York, yeah. It could take another whole hour to find parking. I mean, wait, you can always find parking if you're willing to pay 40 bucks for the parking. Sure, you can always find it. All right. Valerie, you can get, if you get another license and agree to be sued, work on an agent. All right, so yes, so in the Dearborn edition, that will be in chapter 1, you can have what's called a non-resident license to work in a different state. You can, right? But that state will tell you that you must agree to get sued within that state. So even though you are a New Jersey resident, you want to have a California license, sure. You're a PA resident, you want to have a Connecticut license, sure. Most states' laws will say that for non-residents, right, there's no problem in you having a license in that state, but since you're a non-resident, you must agree to be sued in the state, not where you live, but where your license is held. So if you live in PA and you have a license in Connecticut, and there's some type of issue in Connecticut with a client or whatever, they will sue you in Connecticut, and you have to go there to answer. So it's not they come to you, you have to go to them. Kind of logical, right? All right, we're rocking today. Look at this. Patty, Bruno, I want to thank you because due to following your classes, I passed the New Jersey real estate exam last Friday. That's so awesome. So congratulations. And I passed on my first try. It was exactly what you said. I took my time, read all the questions. Awesome. So guys, 2 people, 1 day. This is so awesome. Very happy. This is the best reward I can get as an instructor, is seeing people actually going through. So congratulations, guys. Patty, do you give classes for property and casualty? All right, so let me go real quick on that. We do have a link on our website. If you go to newdirection.school, we have a link there for you to do property and casualty. But at this moment, with all the changes, I'm personally not teaching it. I do have the online option available for property, casualty, life, and health. We will reopen life and health soon, and then eventually property and casualty. But as of right now, we're just doing real estate salesperson. Everything else is online. Okay. I appreciate that. Okay, she's referring everyone to me. I'll take it. I'll take all the referrals I can get. Right? We were just talking about referrals. Right? If you cannot work in the state, get referrals. I'm like the referral king. I love referrals. It's the best thing. Right? So I appreciate that. Patty said here, I called him, but nobody got back to me. I'm not sure. Who do you call? Let me know. Send me a message so I can move forward with a class. If you have any question that's not related to the class, send me a message, 908-418-8325. Is there real estate insurance? Yeah, there'll be property and casualty. Real estate insurance or insurance will be for real estate is property and casualty. And Valerie, yes, my students do have a testing app and Quizlet and all that good stuff. So yes, we do provide that for our students. I don't have it open to the public, but our students do get that. Oh, real estate insurance for the agent. Real estate insurance for the agent is called errors and omissions. And yes, you have to have, most states will require either you or your broker to have insurance if you're practicing a profession, like a malpractice for the doctor. So errors and omissions. Valerie, reach out to me, 908-418-8325, and we'll talk about that. No problem. All right, and if you reach out to me, guys, if you ever reach out to me, WhatsApp is my preferred method. I have like 1,000 text messages, including especially those advertisements that make no sense, the spam. So please send it to me through WhatsApp. I can filter easily that way. No, it's 418-8325. All right. So we cover this, non-resident and so on. In absence of a non-resident license, a broker's license from one state usually does not confer authority to operate in another state. So we talked about it because there is no reciprocity in licensing between states, right? So that means that a broker who holds a Virginia real estate license has no authority to operate in Wyoming, as I was saying. However, a licensed broker desiring a license in another state may be excused from some licensing requirements. So, state of New Jersey, for instance, has no reciprocity with any state. They do kind of give an allowance of hours to people who are from New York or PA. But for all the other states, you got to do the same 75 hours for pre-licensing. So before you go take a license in another state, you got to figure out if there's reciprocity. So there's no direct reciprocity, but sometimes there's, hey, you don't have to do all the hours, just do the state specific, right? And that's what it is. You're excused from some of the licensing requirements. So you need to figure out from that state that you want to have your license in, you need to figure out what are the requirements, all right? So I should have all that information pretty soon because I'm blasting all the real estate commissions an email requesting all the info. All right, so pretty soon. Next, salesperson license. So salesperson license pretty much says that you are acting under a supervising broker. So you are employed and performing services, right? But a broker license, as in the case of a broker license, a salesperson who wishes to leave the business temporarily can voluntarily deactivate the license. It could be active or inactive. So that's sending, we call that sending your license to the state. So you're letting the state of New Jersey, state of New York, state of California, whatever it is, real estate commission know, hey, I'm going to take a break. Right, so I'm going to put my license on inactive, and later on I'll figure out what I'm doing. Right, so you can do that. You can put it on inactive status. A broker salesperson license is a salesperson license held by a duly licensed broker who prefers to act as a salesperson on behalf of an employing broker. So again, you are a salesperson who happens to have passed the broker exam. That's what it is. Now, an individual may not be, right here, as an agent of an employing broker, an individual may not be an active broker while holding an active broker salesperson license. So if you guys noticed, just want to point this out, you cannot be an active broker while holding an active broker salesperson license. What is the difference between these two? Again, this one right here, broker of record. By itself, if you see the difference. You cannot be an active broker of record if you have an active broker / salesperson license. So you either a salesperson or the broker of record. That's all it is. Okay. Voided license. So obviously if you have done something to damage your license, if you have a voided license, then you cannot perform any duties that would require a active real estate license. So if it expired, if it was suspended or revoked, then automatically you cannot perform any of those activities. Okay. In addition, This might be a question in the state exam. In addition, it is important to note that if your employing broker or sponsoring broker license expires or is suspended or revoked, your licenses automatically are suspended or revoked as well. Okay? So this means that you can move to a different brokerage if your broker's license got suspended. Now, the question in the school or state exam presents two answers that are very similar. One of them is your license is automatically inactive as well, suspended, revoked, whatever, right? So automatically. And the other option, so there's like C and D, let's say. And the other option is your license is suspended, but you can associate with a different broker at any time at no cost, right? So if your broker's license was suspended, that was not your fault, move to a different brokerage. The correct answer, so you pay attention, right? The correct answer for that one is you're automatically suspended. And the reason being is very simple. They're always looking at what's the immediate consequence, right? So for instance, let's say that, right? Let's say that your kids are playing with something, as an example. They're playing with a vase, right? Now, if the vase falls, right, and breaks, you will kind of like punish your kids, like timeout, something like that, right? So let's think about this. Listen, I said timeout. I didn't, like some of you were like, what? Punish? What do you mean? No, I didn't say throw them out the window so they realize what it is. What I said is some type of timeout, punishment, whatever it is. Take something away from them and they'll realize they did something wrong. As an example, right? But what is the first consequence? What's the first thing that happened? Well, the vase broke. That's the first thing. It fell out of their hands. What's the first thing that happened? It broke, right? What's the consequence after that, or what's the alternative after that? Then will be the timeout, or it'll be something like that you decide after. But what's the immediate thing that happened? It's broken after you told them not to. So if your employing broker's license expires, what's the first thing that happens? What's the immediate consequence? You are broken, meaning you're void. Your license is void, right? What can you do after? What can you decide to do after? Move, right? But the immediate consequence is license voided. You let it fall. Your broker let it fall and affected everybody. It's broken. Done. You guys got it? So there's going to be two very similar answers. This is pretty much the same scenario to almost all questions in the state exam. Same scenario. There's always two that are very similar, and you're debating between two always, right? You have to think of what's the immediate consequence. What is the most accurate of those two, right? So in this case, if your broker's license is suspended, then they cannot sponsor you. Therefore, your license is immediately inactive. All right, personal requirements. We'll talk about this better in the state portion, obviously, but to qualify for a broker's or salesperson license, an applicant must be of legal age and mentally competent. In addition, an applicant may be required to have a high school diploma or its equivalent. Okay? So again, this depends from state to state. Moral character. So half of you will not pass just because of moral character. Okay, only a few of you reacted. It was a joke. I just want to make sure you guys were paying attention. And again, only a few went like, what? Right? And others are like, sure. All right, keep moving. All right, so moral character. You got to make sure that you have good character and your reputation in terms of honesty, trustworthiness, and make sure you don't have a criminal record. If you have a criminal record, depending on what it is, from state to state, will vary of what they allow you on your criminal record and still get your license or not, right? For instance, my license, usually the license here in New Jersey takes about 3 to 7 business days to activate, right? Mine took a month and a half. They were reviewing my whole criminal record. It took a while. But I got my license. I can be in real estate. I can do business. Apparently, killing someone has nothing to do with real estate, so you're good, right? That's it. All right. Uh, anyway, uh, no, I'll tell you why my license took a month and a half. Just so you guys know, this is a true story, though. My license took a month and a half to activate because I did not do what I keep on telling you guys to do, right? So I lead by example, and now I can tell you that what I did was wrong, which is I waited until I passed the state exam to go do my fingerprints. At the time, it took another 2 weeks, right? But after I passed my exam, it took another 2 weeks to do the fingerprints, right? Then I went to the broker. Took me a while. And then I did not pay attention because I was all excited, the things that happen when you pass the exam. All excited. I did not pay attention that I needed a $160 money order to activate my license. So I had to come back a couple of days later to bring the money order. Right. And then submit it to the state. The broker did. And then it took another 2 weeks, more or less, for them to activate. So the whole process was roughly a month and a half to activate my license. So what I tell you guys to do now, very simple, is get your fingerprints done right away. Get them done right away. Start interviewing brokers right away. You don't need to finish the course to interview brokers, right? Patty, no, there's no requirement for that. I don't know who told you could not do fingerprints. You can do it anytime. And the people that do it the way I'm telling you, usually they get their license activated within the first week or two. So it's way faster. Because the way it works is you do your fingerprint, and the company that does a fingerprint submits to the state, right? Then the state has a file that they're holding until you submit your license activation, right? They're holding it so they can match. If that match is never there, then they're waiting for the fingerprint to, so it just takes longer. That's all it is, right? If you want to speed it up, do your fingerprint, take the exam, already interviewed with brokers. As soon as you take the exam, guess what? Grab the fingerprint, grab the score report, run to the broker, activate. That's it. You took them on Wednesday, so I can submit today. So, Patty, if you took them on Wednesday, your fingerprint, what, the exam or the fingerprints? No, exam was Friday, right? Let me know. So you did the fingerprints on Wednesday. So you could have ran to your broker already. Between the fingerprints and the score report, that's what you need. Just bring the money order or whatever it is to your broker, right? Money order, cash, whatever your broker accepts. Just bring it to them to activate your license. Because your broker is the one that submits to the states, not you. So just get that done right away. You're still interviewing? All right, Patty, since you're not my student from this school, our real estate office is always up for interviews too. So if you're interested, right? I cannot advertise to my students directly, but here's the advantage of YouTube Live. Anyway, absolutely, always. 908-418-8325. All right. Next, Denise says, should we do the fingerprint before? You should do it at any time. Fingerprints and interviews. You should have started a month ago. Okay, fingerprints, interviews. Get them done. The only reason why people would not do the fingerprints, right, is if you doubt yourself, right? The way I'm telling you guys to do, it's kind of like, no, I'm gonna do this. So I'm gonna do the fingerprints now, and I'm gonna pass the day after, and I'm gonna activate the day after. That's it. My mind is set, right? If you're doubting yourself, then people will be like, I'll do my fingerprints once I pass. I don't want to spend the money twice, right? Anyway. Patty, contact PSI exams then. If you do not receive an email that says, congratulations, you passed, check your spam box, right, on your email or junk mail. If you do not receive it within 24 to 48 hours from passing, then contact PSI right away. All right. If you need any help with that, I got a contact within PSI. So if you need any help with that, send me your email. And unfortunately, I'm gonna have to have your your social as well. So it's totally up to you if you want to. But send me your email and your social so I can send it to them and they check your score report there and they'll send it to you right away. Okay? Oh, you're very welcome. All right, next. Educational prerequisites. So, 75 hours. That's what you guys are doing here, for instance. In other states, it's 45 hours pre-licensing, and then they have 90 hours post-licensing. In some states, it's 180 hours pre-licensing. Like Texas is ridiculous. Texas, I guess the state is so big that they have to have so many rules and regulations. You'll even learn how to prepare a whole contract in pre-licensing, which makes no sense to me because, you know, once you pass, you're still going to learn it all over again. But anyway, you have to. So Texas, Arizona, Florida, they're very big on contract laws. All right. Arlene, I think, if I'm not mistaken, up to 6 months. All right, next. Educational for broker's license. We'll talk about this in the state portion. But for broker's license, you have the 75 hours as an example here in Jersey, and then an additional 150 hours later. So there's more education side for it, but also you might need to have experience. So depending on the state, you must have to demonstrate also that you have done some type of transactions, right? Not the exact like, hey, I've done this, I've done that, whatever. But you're gonna have to have your broker sign off saying, yeah, this person has experience. So they'll sign off on your experience. That's what it is. And depending on the state, it could be 1 year, it could be 2 years, it could be 3 years. Some of them could be 4 years. Agency affiliation. Generally, an applicant for a salesperson license does not need to have a commitment from an employing broker to obtain a license. In the absence of an employer, the state will issue an inactive license. So if you don't have a broker, can you send it to the state and at least it's done out of the way? You can. You'll have an inactive license, right? Totally up to you. I mean, do activate your license right away, meaning at least put it with the state. But what I recommend is as soon as you pass the state exam, you still don't know where to go, slap your license somewhere. It's $25 to move. So if you don't like where you are, $25 to move somewhere else. But at least activate it. Like I said earlier, you know, to Rose and also Patty, right? Like I said earlier, you don't want to wait a whole year. That's the time you have to activate. And it's not like in state of New Jersey, it's not 1 year from passing the state exam. You have 1 year to activate from the moment you pass the school exam. So if you I gave you the certificate today, you have 1 year from today. If you take the state exam 6 months from now, then you have 6 months left to activate your license, right? This is true story. I have somebody from a different school years ago, right? That he passed the exam and then, he passed the school exam. He went to take the state exam about 10 months later and passed 10 months later. He had 2 months left to activate the license. He calls me 3 weeks before it expires. Said, Bruno, I thought I had 1 year from the day that I passed the state exam. I just realized looking at the paperwork that I only have 3 weeks left. What can I do? Right? So then I told him what to do to speed up and all that stuff, but he was at the verge of losing his activation, and then you would have to do what? Come back to class, right? So you went through the whole thing, 75 hours, passed the school exam, you pass the state exam, and then you let it slide, and then have to come back and do everything all over again. Doesn't make sense to me. So activate it right away, put it somewhere, and then figure it out. By the way, that's how this business is. You're gonna dive and then figure it out. That's it. You know how we do with the babies to see if they know how to swim, right? Or for them to learn how to swim, we just throw them in the water. That's it. 99.9% of the babies will come back up. 0.01 will sink. right? I had to be saved. I had to be, I'm telling you, I can have a bunch of stories here. I had to be rescued. Yep. And now I love water. Figured that one out. Anyway, but I panicked the day they threw him in the water. Not a normal baby. All right, so this this business is exactly like that, right? You have to stop being afraid and just go and do it. That's what it is. Figure things out later, because we have a team. That's the easy part of this business. Is let's do it, and then the people around you. If you're in a good brokerage, the people around you, the other salespeople there. There's team leaders sometimes, depending on. There's office managers. There's your broker. They're there to help you. So how do we run this business successfully? We dive. Simple as that. All right? And hopefully, you'll come up and be successful. That's it. All right. Your application has to come, I already said that, with the fingerprinting, and the score report and all that stuff, and the fees. State license examination is different in each state. Usually they are multiple choice questions. State of New Jersey, for instance, multiple choice, and so on. CE credits. If you ever hear CE credits or continuing education, every 2 years in the state of New Jersey, but it could be different in other states. Every 2 years in the state of New Jersey, you have to do continuous education. So every 2 years, you have to come back to school. You can do either online, in person, or by mail, but it's a test. If you do online or if you do by mail, there's a test to it. If you do in person, usually I have to vouch that you were here, so I'll give you a certificate of completion, upload you to the state, and that's it, right? So CE credits or continuous education. If you don't do your CE credits, you could lose your license. Simple. All right, license regulation. We have something called the Real Estate Commission. We have a regulation, and they focus on regulation. And then we also have bonds and recovery funds. So in addition to establishing real estate license requirements, state laws also provide the establishment of a real estate regulatory entity or body to administer and enforce licensing legislation. This entity is most often known as the state's Real Estate Commission. Again, most often known because from state to state, I realized that as I was gathering the list of all the real estate commissions, from state to state, they have different names. But the majority of them, they call it RECs, R-E-C, Real Estate Commission. In some states, it is a real estate department or something similar. All right. A state real estate commission has the authority to oversee the licensing process, administer all aspects of license laws, receive and deliberate on consumer complaints, and handle problems between licensees. So arbitration versus litigation. If you guys remember that from the other day. Hold on a second. Patty's asking, so I would be exempt because I'm getting my license now. Okay, from the CE credits. From the CE credits, yes. So in the state of New Jersey, as an example, if you passed your license or activated your license, I'm sorry, within 1 year from renewal, you don't have to do CE credits. You still have to activate your license when come June 30th of 2021, right? We're going to talk about this when we get to the state portion. You still have to activate your renew your license, but you don't have to do CE credits. CE credits are done every 2 years on an odd number year, just like your license. So no, Patty, right now you don't have to do any CE credits because you just passed. So you just have to activate your license, and in 6 months from now, you're going to renew your license. Yep. And then 2 years later, 2023, CE credits. Yep. All right. So, and the same applies to you guys. As soon as you pass, because you're within the 1 year, you don't have to, what do you call it? You don't have to do credits. Oh, just one thing as well, Patty, because you are, and Rose, if you're still there, I'm not sure. But if you guys get, let's say you pass still in December, talk to your broker wherever you're going to go. Talk to your broker about activating a license for January. The only reason why I'm saying this is you don't want to pay the fees for the month of December, because there's a National Association of Realtor fees as an example, whatever your broker is associated with. And then there's the MLS fees. Everything is prorated. And instead of you paying for a month that you're pretty much not going to use because you're still going to go in training, right? Start everything come January 1st. This way you start with a new year and you pay the whole year versus paying a large amount for the prorated portion, right? So it won't make any sense. Just additional savings. Most brokers will allow you to start training already, so that's another thing. So as soon as you associate with them, they'll allow you to start training. So why not? Take advantage of that. All right, so back to the structure real quick so we can finish this chapter. Most real estate commissions are comprised of a group of commissioners appointed by the executive branch of the state government, commonly the governor. Commissioners, they will serve a term of office which may be renewable depending on the state law. Here in the state of New Jersey, every 3 years it expires. Whatever their appointment was, it expires, so they have to be voted again. The Real Estate Commission usually employs a support staff to manage the day-to-day affairs of the agency, and it is common for the support staff to be headed by a salaried executive director, and this is the authority they have: regulatory, judicial, administrative. What does that mean? Well, regulatory enables the agency to pass specific rules and regulations to support administration of the license law. Judicial, that means they can conduct hearings and investigation into the activities. So they're their own cops and judges, right? That's what it is. They're their own cops and judges. So they'll investigate you. They will rule on suspension or revocation of your license. Administrative powers enables it to establish staff organization, records, and facilities that manage the license process for licensees themselves. Okay. We talk about education, license status, real estate schools, us, right? And then regulated standards of practice and conduct. This is what they regulate. Mainly ethical issues, right? But they regulate what's fraud, what's considered misrepresentation, concealment, collusion, and so on. Violations of fiduciary duty, negligence, that means you're careless. Failure to make required disclosures, like all the stuff we talked about in agency in Chapter 11, for instance, and also in Chapter 20, in practices, professional practices in real estate, right? All these things. Practicing law in completing and interpreting contracts. Come on in. All right. Bonjour. Oh.
Bonjour.
Parlez français. Aha, oui, oui, oui.
On the rocks.
On the rocks. Français on the rocks. Thanks, Mario. Appreciate it. Mine was getting cold. All right. Mario, the coffee man and top agent. See that? All right. Where was I? So the mismanaging of escrow funds, which is one of the most common issues in real estate. So if you guys ever search, if you guys ever go for enforcement, you go to real estate commission, whatever it is, .com, and you're going to look for enforcement, and you guys go see the cases there are there. Most of the cases are because somebody misused the funds, the money. Most of the cases. It's called commingling or conversion, if you guys remember that. Commingling is mixing the funds. Conversion is using the funds. This is the most common one. Brokers lose their license. Agents get their license suspended, like a slap in the wrist, like, hey, don't do that, right? Managing improper commission arrangements with clients, customers, or licensees. Accepting or paying illegal kickbacks and referral fees. This is another one that's very common. And then false or misleading advertisements. Non-compliance with office identity requirements and exceeding the authority as a broker or salesperson. One that I've seen very often in the past 2 years is salespeople presenting themselves as brokers, right? And you're going to find that in those agencies that are pro-team. And when I say pro-team, let's pay attention to this. When I say pro-team, because my real estate agency is also pro-team. We have a team. But there are some agencies out there that there is an actual, they advertise themselves. I just saw a business card the other day, the whatever group, right? And the whatever group, like you guys are going to see this in advertising, the whatever group has to be smaller than the real estate company's info. No, there's nothing wrong with being a whatever group. Let's call this right? This is your business card as an example. This was the picture of the guy. Yep, just like that. And then and then it said, actually, hold on. This got his body over here. And then it said, as an example, this is not true, this is just an illustration. But it said, as an example, KW, Realty, whatever. And then a big logo that belonged to the whatever group. And then the agent's name and info, right? So in really tiny letters, somewhere here in the bottom is the actual real estate office. The bigger focus on the business card was the whatever group. And then the picture of the agent, obviously. Very happy, right? So this is illegal. This is illegal. What it should have been, as an example, is big KW, whatever it is, because it's agency first. Who do you represent, right? And then whatever group could have been here at the bottom. Or in any other type of arrangement. It really does not matter. Any type of arrangement. But the office that you represent must be more prominently displayed than anything else. So at this point, what was happening here, so you guys can understand, and this has been a big dispute recently with the real estate commission, right? Is that if I hired you right now, let's say I'm the whatever group team leader, whatever, or the group leader, whatever you want to call it. For some places they call it ringleaders. But let's say I'm the one that's head of the group, and I recruit you. The problem is that this guy, right? This guy right here thinks that whoever's the head of this group, Mr. Whatever, is the broker. That's the biggest problem. That's the biggest issue that we have. So people are exceeding their authority as salespeople. So they don't understand who the broker really is. That's a problem. There's nothing wrong with getting into groups and teams and growing together way faster than it is as an individual, sure. But there has to be a clear understanding of who the broker is. The brokerage, in this particular example, KW Realty, right? And then there's a broker that's responsible for KW Realty, not the Mr. Whatever group, all right? So very careful with that. When you join an agency, always ask, or when you go interview, who is the broker? Key. And there's more and more cases being enforced with the real estate commission regarding salespeople pretending to be the broker. Right? Next, handling complaints. Well, I already covered all this, where they want to do arbitration first versus litigation. They will investigate and they will take action against the salesperson if necessary. Okay? So they issue disciplinary action if necessary. You can always appeal it if you're not happy with the decision. You can always appeal it and say, hey, I made a mistake. I'll never do it again. But please, don't suspend my license or revoke my license. And most of the times, first time, they'll knock it down to a probation period versus suspension or revocation. All right. Violation of any license, law, provision, or regulation is punishable by suspension or revocation of license. If the infraction is a violation of criminal law, then the commission may report the case to the proper judicial authority. So if you committed a crime versus violating the regular real estate laws, if you actually committed a crime, real estate commission will be the first one to snitch. They'll call the cops on you or the FBI or whatever. Hey, listen, our agent just did this. Come get him. That's it. They have the power to do so. So the outcome of many cases of license law violation is a negotiated financial settlement. So usually monies is the outcome, and a court order money judgment against the violator. Now, if the licensee lacks financial resources, the settlement or judgment may be to some extent uncollectible. So to avoid the situation, many states require the licensees to obtain a bond at the cost of a nominal annual fee. Now, the bond covers the difference between the potential settlement amount and the licensee's financial resources for satisfying the judgment or settlement. Okay, so you might be required to have a bond. Other states, rather than requiring a bond, they establish a recovery fund. So in the state of New Jersey, we have the Real Estate Guarantee Fund. So every time you apply for a license, they take some money and they drop into this fund, into a separate fund, right? And then they'll pay part of the judgment, not all of it, but part of the judgment on behalf of the licensee. And this is the reason why we got to have insurance as well, to protect. If it's fraud, insurance will not cover, though. We're going to mention this again under state, but if the Real Estate Commission has to pay a portion of the money, your license will be suspended or revoked until you repay whatever they paid for you. And in the state of New Jersey, it doesn't mention here, but in the state of New Jersey, for instance, is plus interest. So you have to pay back whatever they paid for you. Your license will be revoked until you pay back the full amount plus interest. All right? That is it. Chapter 22 is done. Do you guys have any questions before I move forward? Okay. All right, cool. So, guys, it's 11:22 right now. I'm going to take a quick break before I jump into the next chapter. So, we will get back 11:22 at, trying to do the math right now, brain freeze. 11:35. All right, so 12 minutes, 11:35, we will be back. YouTubers, I'm going to close this session and I will be right back.